Every financial era has its illusion of permanence. When a currency sits at the center of the global system for decades, or even centuries, people stop questioning it. They assume it's untouchable, immortal. But history tells a very different story. Monetary power always shifts, not because of bad luck or conspiracies, but because of predictable decisions made over time. And right now, if you're willing to look past the headlines and the comforting narratives, you'll see that we're standing at a familiar crossroads. What follows isn't fear-mongering. It's not speculation dressed up as drama. It's a financial storyline that has unfolded again and again across empires. And the uncomfortable truth is this: the United States and the Federal Reserve are no longer writing a new chapter, they're repeating an old one. The Federal Reserve hasn't broken overnight, but it has crossed a line that history never forgives. Every global reserve currency, without exception, eventually fails. The Spanish dollar, the Dutch guilder, the British pound. Each one believed its dominance was permanent. Each one was wrong. And today the Federal Reserve is following the same script that ended them all. I know the reaction already. Here we go again, another bleak economic warning. But stay with me, because what we're talking about here isn't theory or conspiracy. It's a pattern grounded in history and economics. Once you recognize it, everything happening today starts to make unsettling sense. This isn't alarmism. It's realism. Take the Spanish dollar. From the 1500s through the early 1800s, Spanish silver ruled global trade. If you wanted to do business across borders, Spanish coins were the standard. Spain commanded vast territories and extracted enormous wealth from the Americas. On paper they looked unstoppable. Then the cracks appeared. Spain diluted its currency, quietly reducing the silver content in its coins. It spent wildly on wars it couldn't sustainably fund. It ran chronic deficits and relied on money creation instead of real productivity. Eventually, confidence evaporated. Merchants refused Spanish currency. Trade shifted elsewhere. In less than a century, Spain went from world power to historical footnote. Next came the Dutch guilder. In the 1600s and 1700s, Amsterdam was global finance. The Dutch built sophisticated banking systems that still shape modern markets. The guilder became the preferred medium of international trade. But success bred overreach. Costly wars drained resources. Debt expanded. Money printing filled the gaps. Inflation followed, confidence faded, and by the late 1700s, the guilder quietly surrendered its throne to the British pound. The British pound then carried the mantle for more than a century. From the early 1800s to the mid-1900s, sterling dominated global commerce. The British Empire spanned continents. London sat at the heart of finance. It looked indestructible. But two world wars shattered the illusion. Britain printed aggressively to fund military efforts, accumulated crushing debt, and attempted to maintain an empire it could no longer afford. Bretton Woods in 1944 confirmed what reality had already decided: the dollar would replace the pound. The transition took time, but once the decline started, it couldn't be reversed. By the 1970s, the pound was just another currency. Across all these collapses, the same warning signs appeared every single time. First, excessive money creation. Every failed reserve currency expanded far beyond its productive base. Governments chose printing over discipline, and inflation inevitably followed. Second, unpayable debt. Empires borrowed against the future until repayment became mathematically impossible. Third, military overstretch. As economic foundations weakened, military commitments expanded, draining resources faster than they could be replaced. Fourth, loss of productive capacity. Reserve nations stopped making real goods, relying instead on services, imports, and financial dominance. Fifth, denial. No one living through decline believes their system can fail until it does. Now look at the United States. In 2008, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet sat below $1 trillion. Today it exceeds $7 trillion. Nearly half of all existing dollars were created within a 2-year window during crisis response. Every shock, market volatility, recession fears, banking stress, triggers the same reflex. Print, inject, expand. We give it respectable names: quantitative easing, liquidity facilities, emergency support. Strip away the language and it's the same mechanism used by every declining empire before us. The result is inflation. Not the sanitized numbers reported in official metrics, but everyday inflation people feel. Housing costs up 30–40% in 5 years. Food prices surging. Energy, healthcare, insurance, education all climbing relentlessly. In lived reality, Purchasing power erosion feels closer to double digits annually. Then there's the debt. $36 trillion. More than the entire economic output of the nation. Growing by over $2 trillion every year. Interest alone now costs more than $1 trillion annually, money that produces nothing, builds nothing, fixes nothing. As rates stay elevated, that burden only grows. Eventually the math breaks. When interest consumes everything, governments face three choices: default, severe austerity, or further money creation. History tells us which option politicians select. Printing is the path of least resistance, the hidden tax few fully understand. Add military overreach to the equation. Over 80 foreign bases. Defense spending larger than the next 10 nations combined. Trillions spent on modern conflicts with questionable returns. Meanwhile, domestic infrastructure decays. Britain tried this path after World War II. It accelerated their fall. The US is repeating it. Manufacturing decline completes the picture. America once produced what it consumed. Today it imports far more than it exports. The trade deficit persists only because the world accepts dollars. Lose that privilege and the economy must suddenly compete again without the capacity it once had. And still, denial dominates. The dollar is strong. America is different. That belief echoes through every fallen empire's final chapter. Meanwhile, signs multiply. Bilateral trade bypasses the dollar. Alternative financial systems emerge. Central banks exchange dollars for gold. The shift won't be instant, but once momentum builds, it accelerates. What follows is not mild discomfort. It's inflation surging as overseas dollars return home. It's interest rates spiking without foreign demand for US debt. It's collapsing asset markets built on cheap credit. It's a sharp decline in living standards as imports grow expensive and scarce. And inevitably, it's social and political instability. The Federal Reserve understands this history. The problem is that it's trapped. If rates rise naturally, the system breaks fast. If money printing continues, the currency decays slowly. They've chosen delay over resolution, slow erosion instead of sudden collapse. But delay doesn't change the destination. You can't print prosperity. You can't borrow your way into wealth. And no amount of credentials or complex models can repeal economic reality. Those laws don't bend. They never have. So what's the timeline? When does this actually break? That's the trillion-dollar question. Based on historical precedent, the current pace of de-dollarization, and the sheer acceleration of debt and money creation, we're entering a critical window somewhere between now and 2026-2028. That doesn't mean the dollar vanishes overnight. Currency collapses never work that way. They move quietly at first. There's a long stretch where nothing seems wrong. Markets still function. Prices climb slowly. Officials reassure the public. Most people dismiss the warning signs. Then comes the tipping point, the moment confidence breaks and suddenly everything moves fast. Very fast. Right now we're still in the slow erosion phase. But the inflection point is approaching. From everything the data is signaling, that acceleration likely arrives within the next 2 to 3 years. Why that window? Because several pressure points are converging at once. By 2027, U.S. national debt is projected to exceed $40 trillion. Interest payments alone will swallow the federal budget, leaving little room for anything else. At the same time, BRICS nations are preparing an alternative trade and settlement system expected to launch in 2025 or early 2026. Once countries have a functional option outside the dollar, the shift won't be theoretical anymore, it'll be operational. Meanwhile, Social Security and Medicare are sliding into funding crises as demographics turn against the system. To keep them alive politically, the government will almost certainly print aggressively, pouring fuel directly onto inflation. Add to that a collapsing commercial real estate sector, stressed regional banks, and the strong likelihood of another banking crisis by 2025 or 2026, which would force massive Federal Reserve intervention. Then there's China. Gold accumulation, trade alliances, strategic positioning toward a commodity-backed settlement system. If and when that move becomes explicit, the game changes overnight. None of these issues exist in isolation. Together, they form a perfect storm, and any one of them could ignite the cascade. So the real question isn't if pressure hits the system. It's whether you're ready when it does. Because when a reserve currency weakens, cash is not safety. Holding dollars in savings accounts, money markets, or under a mattress becomes a guaranteed loss in real terms. You need assets with intrinsic value, things that can't be printed into existence. Gold and silver are the classic anchors. They've survived every currency collapse for over 5,000 years. During the 1970s dollar decline, gold climbed from $35 to $850 an ounce, not because gold changed but because the dollar failed. Physical metals matter here. Not ETFs. Real coins and bars you own and control. Think of them as insurance, not speculation. In this environment, allocating 20–30% of investable assets to precious metals isn't extreme, it's defensive. Real estate also plays a role. Land and property have utility, and inflation tends to lift nominal prices. The key is leverage. Excess debt turns protection into vulnerability when rates rise. Cash purchases or long-term fixed rates matter more than ever. Equities still work selectively. Focus on companies with tangible assets, low debt, and products people need regardless of economic cycles. Energy, agriculture, utilities, mining. Avoid businesses dependent on cheap credit or financial engineering. When rates spike, those models fail quickly. Geographic diversification matters too. Don't keep everything denominated in a single currency. Consider foreign assets and accounts. Countries with conservative fiscal policies, Switzerland, Singapore, Norway, won't be immune to instability, but their currencies are far more disciplined. Cryptocurrency deserves a measured place in the conversation. Bitcoin was created precisely for moments like this, fixed supply, independent of central banks. It's volatile, yes. But as a hedge, 5–10%, stored in a wallet you control, is a calculated risk, not a gamble. The core principle here is resilience. No single asset. No single currency. No single failure point. And beyond investments, invest in yourself. Skills outlive currencies. Expertise compounds regardless of inflation. Multiple income streams create flexibility when systems stall. Strong relationships matter more in crises than spreadsheets ever will. Stay alert. Adapt as conditions change. Track debt, rates, geopolitical shifts. The fastest way to lose wealth isn't bad data, it's outdated assumptions. Some people will dismiss this as pessimism. Others will argue the dollar is immortal. Maybe they're right about the timeline. Maybe it lasts longer. Maybe policy miracles appear. But here's the risk equation. If you prepare and the collapse comes late, you lose nothing. If you prepare and it never comes, you're still financially stronger. If you don't prepare and it does come, the damage is irreversible. I don't want to be right about this. No one should want currency collapse. But optimism doesn't repeal math. Hope doesn't erase history. Every reserve currency believed it was different. None of them were. I've already made my choices. Diversified assets. Reduced dollar exposure. Multiple income streams. Prepared, not panicked. The only question left is yours. Don't be the person in 2028 saying, "I saw the warnings." Don't be the one explaining to your family why nothing was done. Be the person who studied history, recognized the pattern, and acted early. Start now. Audit your exposure. Reduce unnecessary debt. Diversify intentionally. Take one concrete step this week. Because once the fast phase begins, preparation time is over.